So, what if I told you that everything you think you remember isn't quite the truth? We're about to dive into one of the most fundamental and, frankly, most misunderstood parts of being human, our memory. We all tend to think of our memory like a perfect video camera, right? You just faithfully record events exactly as they happened, press play, and boom, there it is. But the scientific reality? It's something way stranger. And honestly, a lot more interesting. It's not a recording at all. It's a retelling, a brand new story your brain spins every single time. And you've felt this, I'm sure of it, that totally bizarre feeling of déjà vu where you swear you've lived a moment twice. Or how about getting into a heated argument with a friend where you both remember the same event completely differently? Well, those aren't just little brain glitches. They're actually clues pointing to how your mind really works.
Okay, so if our brain isn't a recording device, then what is it? Well, you can think of it as a storyteller, a really powerful, creative, and yes, sometimes a kind of unreliable narrator. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the theory of reconstructive memory. Here is the big, mind-bending idea at the heart of it all. Every single time you access a memory, doesn't matter if it's what you had for breakfast this morning or a massive life event, you are not playing it back. You are actively rebuilding it piece by piece, completely from scratch. Now, the official scientific term for this is reconsolidation. And here is the really crucial part. Every time you recall that memory, you risk changing it. It's like you're opening a file, making a few subconscious edits, and then hitting save. The original is gone, overwritten in this constant, quiet editing process. So let's break down how this whole thing actually works. It all starts with a trigger. Could be a smell, a song, anything. That cue tells your hippocampus, hey, go find the old blueprint for this memory. It reactivates that neural pattern. But then, and this is the wild part, your brain's imagination networks jump in. They start filling in the gaps, patching things up with new information, new emotions, whatever fits. And the result? You experience a brand new, updated version of that memory. This is actually a fantastic way to think about it. Think about a generative AI like DALL-E or Midjourney. It doesn't have a giant folder of photos it just pulls from. When you type in astronaut riding a horse, it generates a completely new image based on its understanding of those concepts. Well, your brain does something amazingly similar. It doesn't store a perfect photo of your 10th birthday party. It regenerates the scene every time you ask for it. Now, I know this might be sounding a little like science fiction, but this idea has been building for almost a century. So let's jump into the evidence and see how this all stacks up. I mean, you can trace this back to 1932, when Frederick Bartlett discovered that people's memories of stories would get warped to fit their own cultural beliefs. Then, much later, Daniel Schachter came along and reframed memory's errors not as flaws, but as adaptive traits. And then you have the incredible work of Elizabeth Loftus, who showed just how easy it is to plant false memories, the misinformation effect. And now, today, we can literally see it happening. fMRI scans show the imagination centers of our brains lighting up when we remember things. This quote just nails it. It really gets to the heart of the matter. We're so used to thinking of a bad memory as some kind of personal failing, right? But what if it's not? What if all those glitches, forgetting things, mixing things up, are actually features of a really clever, highly evolved system? Which, of course, leads us to the biggest question of all, why? Why on earth would evolution design a system that seems so, well, so unreliable? Why would we just evolve to have perfect photographic recall? And the main answer is actually pretty simple and elegant. Efficiency. I mean, can you imagine the energy it would take to store every single sensory detail of your entire life with perfect fidelity? It would be an unbelievable drain on your brain. It's just so much more efficient to store the important bits, the gist, and then fill in the rest on the fly. And this whole feature, not a bug idea applies across the board. Take forgetting. It isn't a failure. It's your brain's filter, stopping you from being overloaded with useless information. Misattribution, that helps us generalize and get the main idea of an experience. Even suggestibility, which sounds bad, is actually what lets us learn from each other and update our knowledge. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so this is where things get really deep. If our memory is a creative act, what does that mean for you, for your identity, for the story you tell yourself about who you are? The implications here are, well, they're truly profound. Just, sit with these for a second. Is your entire life story, your autobiography, Basically, a useful fiction you've edited over the years to make everything make sense. This could also be why certain therapies for trauma are so effective. Maybe they actually help people rewrite the painful narrative. And what about the future? If we ever upload our minds, are we just uploading a story that's going to keep telling itself new stories forever?
So look, the most important point is this. Your past is not some dusty museum piece sitting behind glass. It is a living, breathing document. And the most empowering part of all this? You are one of its authors. You are constantly, actively shaping the meaning of your own history. Whew, okay, that was a pretty mind-bending journey. So what's the big takeaway here? How can we actually use this knowledge to become better, more conscious storytellers of our own lives?
Hey, don't just take my word for it. You should totally test this stuff yourself. Play some memory games online and just watch where your brain fills in the gaps. Seriously, look up Elizabeth Loftus's experiments on YouTube. They will blow your mind. Or try this. Tonight, write down a super detailed account of something that happened today. Seal it in an envelope. In a month, write down what you remember from that day again. And then compare the two. I promise you are going to be surprised.
And all of this leaves us with one last really powerful question. Now that you know your past isn't set in stone, now that you know you have some creative control over your own narrative, what story, what memory will you choose to rewrite for a better present and an even better future?